Good afternoon. We're going to go ahead and begin the webinar. My name is Christina Schaefer. I'm one of the on-staff instructors for HAR. I do teach a lot of the classes that we offer here at HAR, MLS classes, tools, social media classes, things like that. So if you ever have questions about any HAR class, you can feel free to reach out to me with those questions or questions after today specifically about anything we cover in this Matrix CMA overview. Please feel free to reach out to me with those questions as well. My contact information should be visible on your screen. I have email and phone number up there. If you're jotting down my email address, just please note there's no H in my first name. I want to make sure that I actually received the email, and if you spell it incorrectly, I won't receive it. Today you are all here for the Basics of Matrix CMA. What we'll be doing in today's webinar is going through a few different CMA reports, 3 specifically CMA reports that you can create in the Matrix program. Now I do see that there are quite a few of you signed on live for this webinar. There is a questions panel on your screen where you can ask questions if you have questions throughout the session. So please feel free to type in those questions as you have them, as they come up. I will also tell you though that I am recording this session. So I'll be answering your questions live so everyone can hear, including people who are watching this after the fact, because what I will do is after we're done today, probably sometime this week, we will get this posted up on HAR's YouTube channel. So you'll be able to find this after the fact on HAR's YouTube channel. Or in Matrix, in the Welcome to Matrix section, there's a spot that says video tutorials that you can watch it from there as well. It just links you up to the YouTube channel. So just be aware we are recording today. So all of this will be available after the fact. Okay, so I'm going to take down my contact information and go ahead and log out of here and get to HAR. So again, if you have questions, I see there are a few whole offices signed up and on today. So if somebody at those offices, like I see Memorial Gary Green office, you guys are on. Hey there, I was just there last week. If you guys have questions, again, type them into the questions panel. For a few of you that have your whole offices signed up, maybe assign one person to type in questions if you guys have them. All right, so I'm going to go ahead now. I'm on har.com. In the top right-hand corner, I'm going to go ahead and log in. Okay, so hopefully all of you guys just heard my introduction. Did anybody not hear my introduction? Looks like a whole bunch of you just all of a sudden signed on and were asking, saying that you couldn't hear. Can everybody hear me now? If you could type into the questions box, just yes or no, if a few of you hear me. Yes, okay, you guys hear me. Perfect. Sorry if there was a little lag there, but all I had done at that point was basically introduce myself, so. All right, so we're going to go ahead and the other thing I had mentioned is if you have questions, type them into the questions box where you guys are typing in yes and stuff right now. Thank you. Okay. Perfect. So I am already now logged on to HAR. On the right-hand side, I'm going to go ahead and enter Matrix. Now in today's session, if you couldn't hear what I was saying earlier, what I had said was that I'm going to go through today and not so much introduce Matrix to you, but talk about the different CMA reports that we have available in Matrix. So I've already gone in and did a search. I found, some comparables, and we're basically going to pick up from that point. I'm not going to be going through and showing you how we pick comparables and, how to pull up the photos and descriptions and things like that. We're not going to go through all of that today. If you're wanting that, then take the Basics of Matrix webinar or a Matrix class. Today, we're specifically going to be focusing on the CMA aspect and the CMA reports that you can produce once you've already found the properties that you want to include in a report. So those of you that have taken a Matrix class already, one thing that you did learn in that Matrix class was about recent searches. You can go to recent searches and pull up searches that you have run recently, okay? You can actually see up to the last 50 searches that you've done in the past week. So just before we got started with this webinar, I actually went around, found a search and got some comps ready. So we're going to pull those up in just a moment. But before we do that, I'm going to go over to where it says My Matrix over here. My Matrix, and I'm going to go down to My Information. Now again, if you've already taken a matrix class, hopefully they went through this stuff with you and you were able to get this all set up. But if you haven't done this yet, My Matrix, My Information, take some time after today and get this all nice and set up the way you want. What I'm going to focus on specifically today is the CMA cover sheet. Okay, on the CMA that we can create, the standard CMA we can create in Matrix, you can have this pre-printed on the CMA report. So I have my photo and my information pre-printed on this report or on my CMA report. So you would set that up here. There's also an email signature if you intend to email anything from Matrix, especially, a CMA, then you want to make sure that you have your information in here for your email signature. So again, if you haven't done this yet, go to My Matrix, My Information after this session and just get these 5 sections all nice and set up. Also going back up to My Matrix, going down to My Matrix CMAs. So on your Matrix CMAs, you're going to see any CMAs that you've created in Matrix from the last 180 days of the last modified date. So it will save them in here for 6 months from the last modified date. Just like it does in Tempo and Fusion, when a CMA is set to purge, it will notify you that it is going to purge, and it'll give you a 3-day notice, just like it does in Tempo and Fusion currently. But you will not see your Tempo and Fusion CMAs in Matrix. If you are looking for those, they're still going to be in Tempo and Fusion. And you can go into Tempo and Fusion and download them or print them or whatever you need to do if you feel like you need to save them beyond when Tempo and Fusion are retired. All right, so now we are going to move on and go ahead and get into the reports that are available when I do a CMA in Matrix. So like I said, hopefully most of you have taken a Matrix class at this point or a Matrix webinar, and hopefully you were able to see a little bit about recent searches. But if you haven't, again, they show me up to the last 50 searches I've run in the past week. Now, this search, again, I ran this earlier before we started this session so that I could find these comps. What I had done was I went to search, went to single family, put in this criteria here, put in this criteria for a particular, looking for particular comparables. I could then click map to kind of review the map. Maybe I want to draw a specific area, or maybe I want, within a certain mile radius or something like that. If I needed to or wanted to see where the subject property is in relation to these comparables, I could click this button here that says jump to address. If I click on that jump to address tab there, I'll get a little cursor where I could type in any address. So let's just say that, this is my subject property address. Well, once I type that in, it puts up a little marker there. So now I could see where my subject property is in relation to the comparables I found. And then if maybe I wanted to go and maybe draw a certain mile radius or something like that, I could do that. Or if I wanted to draw something, more specific, I could even get my polygon and do, whatever it is I want to do there. So there's a lot of options that you have with this map on things that you can do as far as drawing or excluding or including things. One last thing here, this, again, we cover this more in depth in the full matrix classes, layers here. If I had searched for comps, but now I want to see, what schools are these zoned to? Okay, so I can see that all of these are zoned to Bel Air High School, for example, or what elementary schools are these zoned to? Or if I want to see maybe what flood zones they're in. Now notice on flood zones right now it's red, it won't let me click on it, and that's because up here in red it's telling me that I need to zoom in. So if I zoom in a little bit there, then go back to click on flood zones, I'll be able to see that most of these are actually in the 100-year floodplain. Okay, and I could kind of move around to see other colors and things like that there. All right, so again, I know that should be a little bit of review for those of you that have taken another matrix class, but I just wanted to remind you that First thing you do is put in the criteria, then you can review the map, and then we get over to the results grid, okay? Use these 3 buttons, criteria, map, results, to navigate your way back and forth in Matrix. At this point, if I had gotten to my results and maybe I have no solds or 1 sold or something like that, well, then I could always go back to criteria and maybe widen my square foot range or, change up something I did, okay? Okay, but like I said, in today's session, we're not going to be going through and really, determining what's a good comp, what's not a good comp, just so that you can see this process in action. I'm just going to start with my solds just to show you that I could click on an MLS number for one of these solds, review the photos, review all of the information on the agent full report. Remember your property archive report. This little alarm clock is right there, as well as attachments. If I wanted to go see a seller's disclosure or anything like that, that might still be attached, I can. And then if I decide this is a good comparable, I can go ahead and select that property. And then I have previous and next as options here. So if I decide that's a good one, I'm going to hit next, check out property number 9. Maybe I decided that this one is good too. Next, check out property number 10. This one's a good one too, and this one actually just closed yesterday, it looks like. If you see that, it says recent changes, just closed yesterday. So I can select that one if that's a good one too, and then move on to the last one, property number 11. And maybe I decide, you know what, property number 11 is not a good comp. This one's not going to work for me. It's just too different from my subject property, so I'm not going to select that one. Then once I'm ready, if you see in the center of the screen, it says Agent Single Line Display. This is what they actually call their results grid. So if at any point I want to get back to the results grid, if I click on Agent Single Line Display, it keeps my selection selected there, but it also takes me back to the grid. Okay, so if you miss that, when you're ever in an agent full report, in the center of the screen there, you would click Agent Single Line Display to get back to the grid here. Okay, so we're going to cover 3 different reports today. The quick CMA, the CMA using the CMA wizard in Matrix, and Cloud CMA. Okay. Cloud CMA is the only thing within Matrix that's different if you're a platinum subscriber versus a standard subscriber. So if you're a platinum subscriber, I would definitely recommend to try to use Cloud CMA. The difference between Cloud CMA and the CMA that we'll be creating here, which you guys will see in just a little while, is that this CMA does allow for a lot more customization. Okay, this CMA is really good. You can customize some things, but you won't be able to customize everything. So we'll look at those, and then also this quick CMA, which we're going to look at actually right now. So once I have the property selected that I want, if I click on quick CMA, I'm going to see kind of a nice little chart that's giving me really all the information I need to try to determine some good pricing here. So I see things like, average square foot by, or excuse me, sell price by square foot. I can see list price by square foot, things like that. So average pricing, all of that stuff is here. Now this quick CMA, when I pull it up by clicking that quick CMA button that I did, from here, I can download it to my computer or print it. But if I wanted to email this to somebody, I actually wouldn't click email. I would actually click on print, okay? And anybody that used the buyer CMA specifically in Tempo, you're going to want to pay attention to this because that buyer CMA is now called the quick CMA. It's pretty much the same information. It just looks a little different because it's laid out a little differently. So instead of me going to quick CMA and having to maybe download that to my computer, because as you can see, I can download it to my computer and email somebody and add it as an attachment. Instead of having to do that, if I click on print, you're going to see quick CMA available in the report section. And when you click on quick CMA, you now see that I have the ability to email this or print this. So I know a lot of members like to email the buyer CMA in Tempo. Well, this would effectively be the same thing. Okay, so I can email it from right here. Just remember, I'm not in the email screen. I'm in the print screen down here on our button bar. Okay, so I hit print, quick CMA, whoops, and then I can email it from there, okay? The other option would be, again, to print it or download it onto your computer. All right, I do see a question popped up. Nanette asked, are you going to send us a replay of this? I will. This is actually going to be posted up on our YouTube channel. So once it's posted up, I'll email all of you and notify you. It should be sometime later this week or early next week that it'll be available. Okay, so now I'm going to get into the other two CMA reports. So we're going to start with this CMA over here, which is the standard CMA that is available in Matrix using their CMA wizard. So if I click on that, the first thing it's going to do is ask me for a contact name. Now, if I click on contact, I'm going to see all the contacts that I have saved in Matrix already. Your Tempo and Fusion contacts are saved in Matrix already. They've already been moved into Matrix. Or I can create a new contact if I don't already have them stored in the system. So either one of those options will work. Now, what I'm going to do, this is called the CMA Wizard. Basically, it tells you to just use this navigation bar to navigate through the steps. So I'm just going to follow these steps right here, left to right, to complete my CMA report. So starting with pages. Now, I have used this system before. I have created a CMA in here before. So after I've created a CMA and I have determined what pages I want in my product, in my final product there, I can actually come back here and hit set as default, and then Matrix remembers them for me. So next time I come in to do a CMA, it will already know exactly what I want, and I can just kind of follow the steps across the top without really having to worry about what am I going to add or what am I not going to add. So I would encourage you all to try this once, maybe print out the report that you get, and then determine which ones you want. And I'm going to show you why in just a second. So for now, I'm actually going to clear it to show you how I would suggest that you add them, because when you first pull this up, yours is going to look like this. It's not already going to have selected pages. So I would encourage you to not click on the word cover. Do not click on the word subject/adjustments. Click on this little plus sign to get a sub menu, because if I were to just click cover, guess what? It's going to add a cover sheet and a cover sheet with a photo. And I don't really need two cover sheets, right? So if I just want a cover sheet with a photo, for example, I can add that one. Then subject/adjustments, I wouldn't just click right on that, because the submenu within it, we have a summary list and price adjustments for every property type. Well, I don't really need them for every property type. I just need single family, right? So I'll just select those two. Now, on these last two, comparables and static, I would actually recommend that you, the very first time, that you click on comparables and then click on static. That way you've added all the potential comparable reports, all of the potential static reports to your CMA. Build up a CMA as an example, and then at the end, maybe print it out and just kind of compare some of the things, because some of the reports may have similar things. For example, there's a price history chart and there's a list price and sale chart. Well, I'd be curious if they have similar information. Maybe I don't need both, maybe I just need one. So for those, the comparables and static, I would suggest adding all of them so you can see what you like, see what you don't like. And then if there's something that I just don't want to include, I can come back and select it, click the red X, and it will delete it. And then I could hit set as default, and Matrix will remember that's how I want it going forward. Okay. So for now, I'm going to leave it like that. Moving over to subject, I would need to put information in about my subject property. Now, just like we did in Tempo and Fusion, you can still type this in manually for the subject property, but you do have the opportunity to search previous MLS listings to autofill from, or tax records to autofill from. So I'm going to use tax records on this one. If I click where it says search a tax record to autofill from, I'll need to put in a street number and street name for our subject property. And Harris County is defaulted to be selected, which works in this case, but if you're in a county other than Harris, you'll need to change that. And then I'll click the blue results button. Now it's found the property. I can verify that that's the owner names, because remember, this did pull from the tax record, so it knows that. Then I could select that property and click the blue Fill From Selected button. So now I didn't have to manually type in this information. It actually pulled right there from the tax record. So I can add more if I choose, but I don't need to because it's pulled everything from the tax records. It even has a latitude and longitude. It's found where it is on the map. All I would need to really do at this point is upload a photo, okay? So I can just browse my computer for any photo that I do want to include. This is just my desktop background. I'll just put that on there. Okay, so I've got my photo, I've got my subject property information, so I'm ready to move on to the next one, which is cover. Now, my CMA cover sheet, if you guys remember when I went to My Matrix, My Information, I added information to that CMA cover sheet. So that's in there ready to go. So that's great. I could add more information in this contact information section, but I don't have to. So Mark asked, where can we get a recommended rate? Do you mean like a recommended price? Can you be a little more specific there for me, Mark? While he's asking that, I'll move over to comparables. Okay, you said sales price. Let me get to that in just a little bit, Mark. So on comparables, I don't really have to do anything here. A lot of people think I need to select these, but if you notice, they're already selected. It says these are my selected listing comparables. If I select them though, I can remove. So if I decided, oops, I didn't mean to include one of these, I could select it and remove it. Okay. I can also add in from listings, add from tax records, or add from a cart. And those of you that have already taken a matrix class, you should remember that you can store properties in carts for later use. On map, there's not really too much for you to do there other than review where your subject property is in relation to the comparables that you found. Moving to adjustments, you can get in here and make adjustments for different things. If you see where it says over here, view in detail mode, I can review my comps, and if there's anything I needed to make an adjustment for, I can make the adjustment in this field there. So if I needed to add or subtract a dollar amount or whatever the case is, I could do that here. And lastly, pricing. So basically what it's going to do, it's going to give me kind of a summary, right, of the average pricing and things like that I've found. Then down here it says suggested list price. So Mark was asking, well, where can we get a recommended price? Well, we're no longer going to have that. That was something that was in the CMA Wizard previously, but you're not going to find that in any other CMA report really anymore. Cloud CMA doesn't give you a recommended price. Quick CMA doesn't give you a recommended price. The comparables report in Realist doesn't give you a recommended price. Basically, what they're going to do is they're going to give you all the evidence to lead you to the point where you could determine a price with your seller or determine a price range with your seller, and then you can add that into the report if you want. So where it says suggested list price, it says enter the price or price range that should appear on the CMA, or leave this space blank and write it in by hand when you meet with the client, which is most likely what you're going to want to do. So let me leave that blank just to show you what it looks like in the report, and then I'll show you where the other data is that might help you kind of get to a price range with your seller. So at this point, I'm going to hit finish. And that's it. I've created the CMA in Matrix. Now, I added a lot of comparables reports and a lot of static reports, which, like I told you, you're probably not going to want to use them all, but I'd recommend the very first time around to go ahead and add them all so you can kind of compare them. So really quickly, I'm going to click View on this so that you can all see the reports that we added. Okay, so it's going to start off with my cover page here. Just going to zoom in just a little bit more for you guys to see. Okay, so it's starting off with my cover page. So there's my photo of my subject property. Like I told you, I just put my desktop background in there. My subject property address, my client's name, my information. Now again, I added this to the My Matrix My Information section, so it's right there available. And then I get into some of the comparable reports. So I want to show you really quick. I'm going to kind of go back and forth just to show you. This one's called Summary of Comparable Listings. So back here, I'm still on the finish screen, by the way. So I'm going to move over here to Pages. So if you remember, I added what I wanted here. So this very first report there, Summary List, that is this right here. Okay, so that's the summary. Now moving down, I'll see price adjustments. So this will actually line by line compare your subject property to the comps. And if you made adjustments, it will show them right here in this adjustment column. But if you didn't, it'll still just compare them for you. Then you have a report called minimums and maximums. I've had mixed reviews on this from our members. Some members really like it, some members do not. It's completely up to you if you decide to use it or not. But let's just say maybe I didn't want to use this one. Well, what I could do is come back here. Again, I go to the Pages screen. I could select minimums and maximums and then click this red X and delete it. Okay, so then, I can make other changes, which I'm going to do in just a little bit. And then after that, I can hit set as default. So basically by doing that, the system will remember that I really never want to use this particular report. Okay, so then we have cumulative days on market chart. We have a price history chart. The yellow would indicate original list price, green is list price, and red is sold price. Then we have a list price and sale price chart. So again, we just saw a pricing chart, and now we see this one. This one has list price and sale price only. This one has list price, sale price, and original list price. So it's completely up to you, but I would probably use the one that has a little more data, right? So again, if I were to come back here and I compare, I have the price history chart versus just list price, sale price. Well, maybe I don't want to use just the list price, sale price. So I can select that and then hit the red X there to delete it. Okay. So I would encourage you to do the same thing. Just go through these. Again, we have another summary here. So we had a summary at the beginning and a summary here. The big difference between the two is this one has average CDOM. The other one just has average DOM. So maybe just decide which one you like better there. And the rest of these, you have a CMA Pro report that shows you a lot of things. Some people just use the CMA Pro and don't use anything else. Again, totally up to you. Then we get into the pricing recommendation. So if you all remember, I left the field blank where it's like suggested list price. So it's going to give me all of my statistics I need and all of that stuff. Here's average price per square foot. So I could use this to help me determine pricing there. And then I have the summary. So I left it blank. So it just leaves a blank space on the report where I could write this in by hand as I'm meeting with the seller. Okay. Then we have a map layout. This is great, but typically we want to see this before we see some of the other stuff. So remember that you can come back here. I could select map of comparables and maybe I move that up behind my summary or something. So you can delete, but you can also reorganize. And then you're going to get into the static reports. So activity versus timing. My guarantee to you, I would definitely read through that one. Effect of overpricing. A lot of these have to do with overpricing. So again, I would recommend printing them out, seeing which one you like better, maybe use one or two, but I wouldn't necessarily use all of them because, like I said, there's some great ones like this, but then there's others that are just kind of repetitive. Okay. Pitfalls of overpricing. So check out those static reports and see, what you'd like to include or not like to include. Like for example, if I don't want to include my guarantee to you, well, I could select that and then just hit the red X. Okay. Now, once I've gone through, I've determined what I like, determined what I don't like. Down here at the bottom, I can hit set as default. And then every time I go to create a CMA, Matrix will remember that these were the reports that I liked and these were the order that I liked them in. One more thing that you can add that I didn't show you guys earlier is I can upload custom pages. So if I do have some sort of maybe document that my my company or somebody has that I'm able to use, I can upload it there. Okay, Gloria is telling me that my audio is going in and out. I'm sorry about that. I am hardwired into the internet, so we shouldn't have issues with that, but I do apologize. And like I said, I'm going to send you all, once it's ready, a link to view the recording of this. All right, other people are saying it's good, Gloria. Thank you guys for replying. Other people are saying it's good, so maybe just check it might have to do with your internet speed, or maybe check your computer volume, and that should help. Kelly, I'm going to answer your question individually. I'll answer your question individually in just a little bit. Okay, so that was using the CMA, the standard CMA that's in Matrix. Now, if you don't remember how I got here, I'm just going to click this little red X here to get out. Actually, I saved it. Okay, I'm going to click this red X to get out of here. If you don't remember, all I did there was I selected the comps I want and I clicked the CMA button. Okay. Okie doke. So moving on to Cloud CMA. Now, like I said, Cloud CMA is the only thing within Matrix that's different if you're an MLS Platinum subscriber versus a standard subscriber. So if I have selected my comps and I am a Platinum subscriber, I'll be able to click Cloud CMA and pull up the Cloud CMA program. Now, it already has my comps in here. It brought them in from Matrix, so it has the MLS numbers for the comparables there. And I can add in my client's information and the subject property information. Then I would click Fetch Listings, and it's going to walk me through the process very similar to what we just did, okay? Now, I'm going to just back out really quick, if you'll bear with me just a moment. I'm actually going to log in as one of our members who lets us use his account for dummy purposes, just so that I can show you one that I've already created and how I customized it and did it. So when you go into Cloud CMA for the first time, I would encourage you to first click Settings, go through and make sure your information is in there correctly, or in there the way you'd like to see it. Upload your headshot, upload your company logo, all of that stuff to make sure that it's all in there and good to go, okay? Then, like I did earlier, I ran the search, I brought those comps into the CMA, and this was the screen we were looking at earlier. When I click Listings, we'll see my comps there. I'm going to see, just like we saw earlier, low, median, average, high, projected value, a suggested list price. Again, it's going to leave that blank. So just like the other one did, it's not going to actually give you a suggested list price. It's going to require that you determine that on your own. Then I'll get into Customize. And like I said, with Customize on this one, you do have a lot more opportunities for customization than we do with the other CMA. With this one, you can actually select themes. If you see over here on the right-hand side, it says theme. So his company actually has a theme. Some of your companies may have themes. If not, they do have a lot of different colors you could use and things like that. So if I was doing one for HAR, I would probably pick, you know, one of the blue ones or something like that. We have a lot of blue and orange, for example. So I would just probably pick a color that kind of corresponded with my company. Layout, he has a 2-photo layout, which means it's going to have 2 photos, 2 big photos, and then all the information about the property, but also it's going to have all the photos available. So there's a lot of other report layouts you could pick instead if you don't like that particular layout. And you can even pick a custom font, or it'll use the font of your theme that you picked. There are other things in here you can create or edit. For example, there's a cover letter. So I can come in here to edit the cover letter or create a cover letter. Some of the others, like an agent resume, he has his agent resume in here. A marketing action plan, and then information about your actual company. So there's, you know, a lot that you can do to really customize this a little bit more. Totally optional though, if you decide to use it or not, but there's just a lot more customization. Basically, the way I kind of explain it to people is, and let me get back into Matrix to show you this, but the way I kind of explain it to people is if I'm using this CMA or this CMA, I'm looking to create a listing presentation, right? The CMA or the Cloud CMA, this is basically creating a listing presentation for you. The quick CMA will just get you the data you need, okay? But it's just a one page. It's not going to be as impressive to a seller, potential client or customer. It's just going to give you the hard facts, right? So the Cloud CMA and the other CMA, those are going to be more, I'm putting on the dog and pony show. I'm trying to win this listing. And because Cloud CMA does allow you so much more customization, it does have a little more appeal than the other CMA. Then once you're done, you would hit publish and it's going to publish the CMA. Okay, I'll give this just a second to finish publishing here. Okay, so I'm going to view this really quick so you can have an idea. Now remember, I'm using his custom theme that he selected, picked the layout, or we're using the layouts that he had selected or we're using. So here's my cover sheet. It already pulled this based on where the subject property is. I didn't have to upload that. There's my subject property address, my client's information. Now it does have a custom header and footer for you, so you can have a custom header and footer in here. Then there's his cover letter, his resume, an explanation. This is a static report, an explanation of what a CMA is. Contact me information, a map of listings. So then you'll kind of start seeing comparable reports. So this is very similar, the summary of compared listings. It's very similar to the summary we saw earlier in the other report. And then we have the property details. Remember, he had the 2 photo layout. So it has information about the property, but then 2 big photos down here. And then we see all the photos, okay? So I'm just going to keep scrolling down to get to a few other reports that are just a little bit different than what we have in the other one, but we're still reviewing our property details here. Almost done with that. All right, comparable property statistics. So again, it's giving me average pricing, average price per square foot, average DOM, so I can kind of make determination from here on pricing. One thing that it doesn't have in the other CMA that it does have a Cloud CMA is this right here, this online valuation analysis. So what this is telling me is here's the solds I found, here was their sold date, here's their sold price, here's what the Zestimate is on Zillow and the percentage difference it is, okay? The percentage difference here on some comps that I've pulled up, it's 30%, difference, 25% difference. So showing this to, a prospective client, I mean, they probably will have already gone to Zillow or eAppraisal or somewhere like that and tried to get a value of their home. As we know, those websites tend to be inaccurate, especially in Texas where, we're non-disclosure state. So this just kind of opens up that conversation that, look, I know you can go to Zillow and Zillow is going to tell you it's going to sell for X amount, but here's the hard facts. Here's the comps that I found that are similar to yours. Here's what they sold for. Okay, so really helpful report, here that you can include. Then you have some more comparables, and you'll also get into static reports here as well, just like we had in the other one. So very similar as far as the information available, comparable reports and static reports. The only real difference is the customization, and then of course the whole online valuation information that's included in Cloud CMA that is not in the other CMA report. So again, if you have Cloud CMA, get in there, mess with your settings, get them set up the way you want, decide what theme or report or fonts and colors and all that stuff you want, and start using it, because I think it's really great. If not, the other CMA is just as good. It's just you're not going to be as customized as this one. One last thing that Cloud CMA can do that the other one cannot. They both allow me to email, print, download, right? But Cloud CMA also gives me the opportunity to present. So this is formulated to present on a tablet or an iPad. So I could pull this up on my iPad with, at my listing presentation and just kind of go through this with my, client or customer. So here's, the map of the properties I found then. Then it says sold listings. Recent home sales can be the best indicators of what your home is worth. And then it will show them the comps I found. And I can hit next to view the next one, or I can hit the down arrow to see the photos of it, right? And then I can hit next again to view the next one. So then we see averages. There's again that Zillow online valuation analysis. By the way, these are clickable links. So I could be presenting this and then click there to show them, look, here it is on Zillow, and here's the information that it said. Okay. So you can kind of see that this one does allow more, but this whole presentation thing is just such a neat little trick to have in your tool bag, because it really makes you look pretty tech savvy, and it's you basically set it up the same way you set up the other one. Okay. All right, so we have a few minutes left for questions. We actually are done with everything that we needed to complete in today's class. So thank you. I see a few of you are already saying thank you, so you're welcome. If you have questions, go ahead and type them in and I will answer them. Kelly, I didn't forget about your question. I'm going to answer it here in just a second. I'm also going to put up my information. If any of you do need to sign off, you're welcome to do so. There's my information if you are one of those people. Otherwise, I'm just going to answer the questions, and it might be beneficial for more than one person to hear these questions. Okay, how do you save default settings in Cloud CMA? Great question, Jana. It actually will kind of remember what you did there. So if I go ahead and just make the change, it remembers them. You can also, there's other things you can do. You can create one-click reports and things like that in here. But basically, whatever you change it to is how it's going to leave it. So it basically makes that your default setting there. So yeah, Rena, technically you can use your iPad to do the regular CMA, but you would just be kind of scrolling through a PDF. It's not going to be a presentation like Cloud CMA is, but technically I guess you could, if you did email it to yourself as a PDF, you could pull it up on your iPad and show it that way, but it's not going to be as set for that as the other one would be. Luis, you're asking about the default I use in my CMA. I think you mean like the default reports. I can pull it back up to show you. Actually, I wouldn't be able to show you because I just changed it. But pretty much I just weed out anything that is repetitive. Like I said, there was 2 summary reports. Look at the summary you like and use that one. So anything that's repetitive, just pick the better one and use from there, and then just delete. So I'll just pull it back up so you can see what I did. I'm going to go to My Matrix CMAs, and pull up the CMA that we just did. Oh, and I'm going to hit View. I meant to hit Edit. There we go. Okay, so these were the pages that I currently have on there. But again, I didn't kind of weed through everything. There's some of the ones that I didn't get to. There's some repetitive information in the static report. So again, I would read through what you see there and see what's more beneficial, what you think would be better for your clients to read. Okay, so I see in the Memorial Gary Green office, you're asking what is the BRE number for setting up the Cloud CMA account? I don't think you guys need to do that as long as you're going into it from HAR. You shouldn't need to do that. Like if you go to My Matrix Cloud CMA, it should just be reading your user ID and password that you use for HAR. All right, so answering your question right now, Kelly, I don't see any other questions coming through. I'm going to put my information back up. So if you have to go, thank you guys for signing up for today's webinar. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Again, today was recorded, so we'll be sending you a recorded version of this webinar after today. All right, thank you guys. And I do see some questions. Don't worry, those of you that did ask questions, I will answer them. Gianna, you do have to be logged in to do that presentation mode in Cloud CMA. And Kelly, my contact information's up on the screen now, so I'm sure you saw it. And you're welcome to all of you guys asking. Or all of you guys not asking, saying thank you. Okay, no other questions are coming through. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye.